So this is going to be a bit weird. I do talk about the lore a lot in League of Legends, but again, I'm not very good at this whole YouTube thing, right? So I'm going to have a few prerequisites, so if you're bored with all that type of shit and you just want to get into it, I'll have a timestamp here. Go ahead and skip it if you want, but for those of you who are kind of confused at my boundaries and my reasoning for all of this, here you go. One of the main things I try to zero in on for these is their in-game character design and their splash art, and a mix of their lore as well. Like, if you look at this character, are you intrigued by their splash art and even more intrigued by their game design, right? So a character like Blitzcrank has some really cool splash art, which, I mean, honestly, all splash art is really good in this game. Like, I don't know if there's one that's bad, but anyway, like, a character can have some pretty good splash art like Blitzcrank, but in-game, his design is fucking atrocious. I'm also leaving out skins because there's 140 characters, and looking into the lore of like exponentially more skins than 140 would be just pain. And honestly, like I'm only one guy, so I'm trying my best here. And the last thing is, this is in no particular order. I kind of just like put them all in, like that's it. Like I just kind of chucked them all in, and like, the only thing I try to do is get one character for each lane. So there's one for top, there's one for support, there's one for jungle, there's one for ADC, and there's one for mid. So everyone gets a little happy, you know what I mean? But without further delay, this is my, like, 5 favorite character designs. It's not really my favorite, it's just that, like, I don't know what to call it right now, because I'm kind of just winging it. Those of you who have stuck around my channel for a while knew that Mordekaiser was going to be on this in some form, because he's one of my favorite characters in the game. Not gameplay wise, I mean, I love playing him, and honestly I got him in my back pocket because he's AP, and I don't like playing a lot of AP champs up top. But he is one of the coolest designs and the coolest, like, I think his VGU is one of the best in terms of revamping a character so he doesn't look like a clown with his fucking stupid ass clown shoes. And I mean, at least it was pretty cool that he could make like a ghost dragon. That was cool, but fuck that. I want my Lich King. I think both his in-game design and his splash art demonstrate beautifully what type of creature Mordekaiser is, because at this point he's not even human. He's a suit of armor, just glowing with green light that is just a monster to face against. And you could say that Viego is kind of a big bad as well, and he's a bigger bad, but I'd say they went for a more complex character with Viego. And they even use some of the same color designs, which I think that's just a normal thing they do. Like, it's like just a sign of necromancy, like this green and black and all that. But I think they went with two distinctly different tones with these two characters, where Mordekaiser is focused on conquest and ruling the afterlife. Viego is a narcissistic, spoiled brat who does not care about other people and thinks he has the right to control other people. So fundamentally, they are the same enemy, but one is more interesting to me because a narcissist is a cool concept for a villain, but I feel like the narcissist that wants to rule the afterlife by taking the souls of mortals is a more interesting concept to me. His splash art is a perfect example of his character as well, being a giant suit of armor that is impervious to physical attacks, a soldier's sword breaking against his armor as he just looks down in sheer disappointment at this fucking fool for trying something. It's great. It's viewed from the bottom up, so it makes him look bigger and more monstrous and scarier, clouded in green magic dust and like fucking smoke. It makes him look like more of a demon rather than a once man. And in game, he's so good. Like, I think they translated it too well to the game. Because even if the person playing Mordekaiser is god-awful, you still have a decent chance of just killing someone if you pop your ult on him. Because there's just nothing you can do when he ults you. He is a god when he's in that realm. And it's very rare that you can even get out of there, let alone kill him. Unless you eat a fucking orange. I took way too much time on the Mordekaiser, so I'm probably gonna have to like speed these up, or else I'm just like gonna wear this video on for like 20 minutes. So we're gonna talk about Two Coats. Let's go. Two Coats, or Tom Kent, is such an interesting character. One thing I love about him, rather than being a evil demon like Evelyn or Fiddlesticks. He's more of a wordsmith with a honeyed southern drawl and acts like a lovable uncle. But slowly his contracts leave you with a sense of hunger or greed until you start doing the most horrendous shit to yourself or others. Or in some cases, he starts tearing away what he gave you, slowly, piece by piece, until you're left in despair. And then, you get a Vorking. And I really love his character design. I like how he's a catfish, which gives him the illusion of a mustache, because we all know everyone with mustaches are very trustworthy, and if you have that weird stubble instead of like an actual mustache, then you're the most untrustworthy person ever, and I don't want to associate with you. I think the idea of his coat being two coats being sewn together because he's so fucking fat is a good demonstration of his gluttony and greed, and his little top hat on the top of his massive fucking frame, covering for his massive fucking jaws. If you couldn't tell, I have a massive thing for the villains in these stories. They're very cool, and it's one of the best parts of League of Legends, period, right? I don't think I'm alone in the fact that the villains are some of the best characters in League of Legends. Like, some of them are awful, obviously. Like, Shaco doesn't even have lore to speak of because the idea is he's a murder clown, right? But sometimes simplicity can help these stories. Sometimes you just want something to be made of. Wait, cut it off. Why do I hear crows? I hear crows! What I really like about Fiddlesticks is that they have a few folklore and like how he started, about where he came from. Where Evelyn and Tom have been in the world for so long that they've gotten used to the people that they consume and use for their emotions. Evelyn's a sexy hot lady to attract literally anyone, and Tom is a southern, soft-spoken man who knows how to make a deal with you, so he can get off on his greed and his gluttony. But Fiddlesticks doesn't feed off of those types of emotions. He feeds off of something more primordial. He feeds off of your fear. Something just recently released into the world of Runeterra and is just not understanding what's happening because he's so primordial he has no clue what he can do other than the basic shit he can do. He only knows how to cause fear. One cool thing I really, really enjoy about Fiddlestick's skins, though, is that apparently all of them can be canon, because he builds his bodies out of different bits and pieces from each region. He doesn't stay the same thing, so in Demacia, he's made out of like a scarecrow, like bits of metal and cloth and rags, whereas in the Freljord, he's made out of old armor, old weapons, and fur. And it just intuitively knows what makes you scared. It knows what you fear. It knows if you have a fear of loss. It knows that if it grabs your friend and uses its pained voice to start screaming out at you for help, that you will be fucking terrified. The sheer power of this creature is not even describable. Oh, it just got grabbed by a robot, and okay, that's really not a good look. Yeah, one of the worst things about Fiddlesticks is his disconnect between the lore and the gameplay. Like, there's a giant disconnect there, where you see this guy playing Fiddlesticks, and sometimes if he's good, he'll actually embody what it is to be against Fiddlesticks in Runeterra. But if your Fiddlesticks is a trash can, then you're kind of screwed, and he just looks really funny most of the time rather than anything. Ah yes, another villain. It seems like I have a kink. Jin is in a weird place for me because I don't know how to describe why I like him so much. Like, for all intents and purposes, I should not really like him all too much because a lot of the stuff I've delved into, there was a lot of discommunication between the actual game designers and the splash art team. So pieces of how he is just don't line up with the splash art in the game, which can be a little lame. And I also really couldn't tell that he was from Ionia. His cloak is Ionian, and his gun is Ionian, I think. Or it was in a temple in Ionia, so maybe they didn't make it there, but it's there. Which I didn't think they'd have guns in Ionia, but I guess that makes sense. I don't frickin' know, guys. I think what really keeps me entertained by Jin is his fractured mindset. His voice lines, the way he acts, are all just so beautiful and so refreshing for a villain. all villains have their own motivation, right? And most of them have to be selfish. A lot of the time, the villain will want conquest, money, or their goals will just diametrically oppose the heroes, right? Which, I mean, I guess it would just be more of an antagonist, right? And Jin is a bit of a variation on kills just for the lulz, but he kills in a way that makes it interesting. He wants your death to be an opera. He wants you to die in a beautiful way, rather than die a quick and painless death. He wants it to be slow and as drawn out as possible because it needs to be a drama. So I guess this isn't about his character design, even though his splash art kind of fucking slaps. I like the imagery of him looking at a fractured mirror, showing his fractured mindset, and I really like the mask that he wears, like just hiding who he truly is. And he even covers his eye in the lore, which is just fucking weird. Like, he thinks it makes it look better in the performances, in quotes, but like, you'd think when you're using a fucking gun, you might want a little bit of depth perception, but I guess the mirror doesn't need it, so why do you? Well, 4 out of 5 villains ain't bad. Aurelion Sol is the 5th that's gonna wrap up this video because he is a very, very cool design. Like, I don't know how you think of a cosmic foraging dragon, and knowing the League of Legends design team, they probably stole it from somewhere else and just did their own tweak on it. But holy shit, they did this right. The imagery of a dragon with stars peppering his body, looking like this cosmic being, is so well done. He's always looked good in almost every iteration, and in his not so recent update, he feels a lot more godly. He feels a lot better. In the old update, he felt like cancer. That's honestly the best way I could say it. Like, it was an interesting idea, and I can give him credit for trying something new, but he just wasn't good, right? Like, there were about 5 Aurelion Sol mains that were still alive. Most of them probably gave up on him and went over to, like, I don't know, any character that wasn't trash. Scaling is a really good aspect to try and display a character's godliness, in my opinion. It makes them feel more and more powerful, and at the end they feel like an insurmountable object because, you know, they're a fucking god. So they should be insurmountable, but also they need to be balanced, so I see why they don't do it all the time. Because balancing scaling is basically fucking impossible. You can't really balance a scale because it's really hard, because eventually they're going to scale to a point where they're overpowered, like Gnosis. And usually you need to build your team around handling him rather than handling their ADC like you normally would. And I feel like with this last update, even though they did need to do a few tweaks, he's pretty manageable, and he's also pretty fair. I think he's balanced. I think the text in the chat that says the sky is darkened when he gets the upgrade for his ult is one of the coolest things, and they need to do it for more characters. Like, how cool would it be if every time a god character got level 6 and they had their ult up, you got like a cool text chat? Like, if Ornn got level 6, it would be like the earth quakes. If Anivia got level 6, the wind bites or something. And if Volibear got level 6, it'd be like the sky crackles or something like that. Because I think it's one of the coolest things. I mean, like, I think it would be not good for the game because everyone would know that you had ult up as well. So it would be kind of a disadvantage, but also it'd be kind of cool. And I like it. It's a cool idea. And one last thing about Aurelion Sol before I go, I really like how his ult is kind of nearly universal. It's really cool, it's really nice, and it makes him feel even more godly. Like, with a lot of these universal ult characters, I won't hit Draven because Draven. But like, where does Jinx keep this giant fucking rocket? I've seen Arcane Jinx. I know you don't got fucking magic. I know you can't handle that. I know that's not in your fucking back pocket. And I know your rocket launcher can't fucking handle it. Where the fuck did that come from, Jinx? Where the fuck did your massive fucking rocket come from? Where did it come from? Please tell me. But that's it for me for today. I really enjoyed doing the research on these characters because, to be honest, I didn't look too far into their lore before this. And now that I have, I'm actually kind of happy I did. I really enjoy a lot of the lore. I mean, the only one I'm not too interested in is Aurelion Sol. I think they need to do more with him. I think some of his stories are pretty cool, but like, they just need to do a little bit more with him. like when I looked through all these characters, most of them had like one or two stories, but Jin had like, because he was in Zed's storyline, so they reference like every single comic he was in. It was just so funny. Like Jin has this like like this goddamn biography, and then all these other characters got like one or two stories, and then like maybe a video where they had like one small bit in. But yeah, other than that, I really hope you enjoyed. I hope this is something that tickled your fancy, and I hope you smash like. And if you didn't like the video, then smash dislike. And if you liked it or didn't like it, comment why you didn't like it or why you did like it, or comment about the fucking lore or how I messed up. If you can, if you can point out something I got wrong in this, I'll pin it. I'll pin the comment. So I challenge you guys to find something I said wrong in this video, and then comment it. It's cool to see if I'm wrong. Have a great day.